I'm here with Kwame. Now, Kwame is normally quite a positive guy, but I could tell that you're disappointed, as well you might be. Just witnessed Arsenal go out of the FA Cup at the third round stage. Two long-time rivals, Man United. I think what was especially disappointing was Arsenal had by far the majority of the possession, over 70%. We had something like 26 attempts on goal. We've missed a penalty in normal time. We've also missed a penalty in the end of extra time. We've gone out, man. Disappointing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, another loss at home. That's two on the bounce in a row. That's supposed to be our fortress, isn't it? It's supposed to be this is supposed to be our place where no one can beat us. However, I think even leading up to the game, there was a bit of doubt in some of the Arsenal fans. And look, I know most of the interviews you're going to have are going to be quite negative. A lot of people will be talking about Arteta out. For me, I like to kind of, obviously, I speak my own truth.
You're normally quite a balanced guy, which is
I try to be balanced. Because the thing is, like, when you're in this game or when you're doing this, you can get caught up with the noise. And there's a lot of noise going on around our club. And I try and take a step back and think with a clear head, a clear conscience. And I think, you know, where was I about 5 or 6 years ago? Who was in disarray? I used to work in Arsenal. So I used to see fans firsthand dashing their season ticket. Oh, I'm done with this club. And I saw this one man, Arteta, come in and he re-galvanised the whole fan base. He's doing more or less what Ruben Amorim is doing with Man United right now. He's bringing back the culture. So Arteta's managed to do that. And also he's had to build a squad. Yes, the amount of money he spent, everyone keeps banging on about it. He should have done this, he shouldn't have done that. If he didn't buy defenders and he bought striker, we had loads of strikers, or our strikers would be finishing our chances, but then what would be happening at the back line? If we didn't reinvest and get David Raya, what would we be doing with Ramsdale right now? Because obviously Arteta saw these things and he said, you know what, I need to address it. When you build a house, Laurie, or you build something, you know, a property, you start from the foundation. So for me, that's what I feel that Arteta's done. Now, we can either get carried away with all this chaos and be the laughing stock of the whole football fan base, or we can actually say, you know what, let's be patient, because every choice Arteta has made so far is managed to bring us a step closer. I'm looking at it now. You know where Man City were with Pep? And I think Pep was struggling. He didn't have an out-and-out strike. I think they just got rid of, or Aguero wasn't there. They were just missing that final quality, especially when it came to the Champions League. And he said, you know what, I'm done with this possession football. I'm just going to buy a big number 9. And he brought Erling Haaland and Alvarez. And that was it. They won it. That's where I feel like we are right now as Arsenal Football Club. We're about just that final piece away from us dominating the Europe. Because we dominate most games in terms of possession. We control games. And I know it's boring. People. I get it. But if you want to dominate throughout these years, this is what you have to do. This is what Pep has done. So it's just one of these things, like, I feel like sometimes the fan base get kind of carried away and they're like, oh, you know, we want it now. We're like little kids. You know, that's spitting out of dummies every minute. When things go right, it's okay. When things go wrong, oh, I'm done with this, I'm done with it. Let's have a little clear head, people. Let's really think about the long picture here. And I know a lot of people will be caning me in the comments. I don't care. Bring it on. It brings up my views anyways. But no, it's like, he's made us fall back in love with Arsenal Football Club. No one can stand here and say that they wasn't feeling a way about Arsenal before. So let's not just like say, oh yeah, just get rid. It's not.
No, I'm not saying get rid, but there is a question I do want to ask you.
There's a lot of murmurs around.
There is, yeah, and we've addressed some of those with some of the earlier fan cams. But there is a question I do want to ask you. I mean, me and you, we've been arguing before we come on here today. We've been going back and forth. Now, listen, I'm not trying to victimise or put the blame on one person. But I've been saying for a while now that Kai Havertz, as much as I appreciate what he brings to the team, I've got to be honest and say that he's not, in my view, a 20-goal a season striker. That's my personal feeling. Me and you have gone back and forth. You've rated him. Got to say, last couple of games, I know he's coming off illness, so I'm going to try and be fair to him. But do you think that if we had a striker, a top-class striker today, we probably beat Man United today? And it's arguable that we probably would have beaten Newcastle as well.
100%, but it's like...
So do you then think then that the striker is becoming a bit of an issue for the club?
Look, of course it is, but it's not like Arteta didn't try and address this in the summer, because the players that we was linked to, it was not like he wasn't looking at Sesko. Sesko scored a brilliant goal today, by the way. Vlahovic, who else we looked at? Kudos, all of these players. Why is it that we couldn't get it across the line? It's not because Arteta saw it and he said, yeah, I need these players. Mudryk, because he's looking at Martinelli and he's thinking, he's not going to get me to that level that I need.
We might have dodged a bullet with Mudryk, by the way.
Oh yeah, we might as well, yeah. But it's one of those things where he's addressed it. So this is where I'm looking above Arteta now, and I'm saying the board need to back him, because if they're not careful, we're going to lose a potential world-class coach, manager in the future. He will go on. If we don't appreciate him, and he loses his job, let's say, he will go on.
So you think it's more to do with the board rather than the manager? Yeah. Okay.
I'm not believing this whole, we got all this money to spend. Why isn't he spending? Arteta's probably sitting in that boardroom and he's knocking on the door and he's saying, look, these are the players I've got. These are all the injuries I've got. I've managed to get the same amount of points that we had from last season with a fully fit squad. And he's still doing it this season with bare bones. You've got to applaud him for that. He's chopped and changed, and yes, we've questioned it. I didn't like Partey at right back, but he still managed to get the same points out of it. I'm thinking, bloody hell, he must be good. He must be. So yeah, for me, it's like, of course, yes, we need a striker, but there must be a reason as to why, and it's not just Arteta. It's above him.
No, you know what? You do make a good point there, because if you look at it, last year, I think we scored something like 89 goals in the Premier League. And this season, we're struggling for goals. Obviously, I don't know how many we're going to end up with.
We're struggling, and he probably looked at it and he thought, you know what? Where do I need... We're scoring loads of goals. As long as I have Saka, Martinelli, all these people fit, we'll get goals. But yes, this is where I've listened to everyone else, and 100%, you've always got to have a plan B, a plan C. If so-and-so gets injured, who have I got in place? That's something that, as a whole, Arsenal didn't do well. And that's why we're getting punished for it. But I don't want to sit here and just be like, oh, yes, Kai Havertz. He should have scored his goal. He should have scored his penalty, 100%. But then we have to look at Captain Odegaard, because he should have done that. Yeah, perfect opportunity, put the game to bed. Trossard should have scored. Great tackle from De Ligt, which I'll talk about in my next video on my channel. What else was it? We had countless chances. Declan Rice. I love Declan Rice. A header. He's playing it right into the keeper's head, into his hands. I saw that. Anywhere, left or right, he could have put it. So it's like, I'm looking at all these players now, because Arteta is tactically, he's set up this squad so perfect. The way they move their positions, the way they chop and change. Man United couldn't do anything about it. But it's when it gets to the final third, that's where it counts, and that's where we're lacking. And I'm pretty sure he's smart enough to know, look, we need this. It's the board. I believe it's the board, in my opinion.
No, that's an interesting point. And just to expand on what you're saying, I think what a lot of teams are doing with Arsenal now, they're quite happy to let us have the ball.
Yeah.
And what they're basically doing, we'll keep it tight, we'll keep it compact. And then, because they're not looking flowing and fluent and confident up top, we will get our opportunities. So if we take ours, then the chances are Arsenal are going to struggle, which is what's happened in the last couple of games.
Yeah, no, look, we can't take credit away from the Newcastle and Man United. They done well. They fought like warriors, I can't lie. There's some of the challenges they made, they came here to fight, but it's not like we didn't expect it. That's where I'm upset. I'm not upset with Arteta. I'm upset with the players that crossed that line. This is the FA Cup. Like we said, this is the two most prominent teams within the country going at it. And we had a chance to get further in the competition, to get something, to say behind the season. And we've let that slip. Sometimes it's not just about how you set up your teams or how a team is low blocked. It's about who wants it the most. There was enough chances for us to go out there and take risks, and I just feel like we didn't. Sterling came on, and to be honest, he done well. Yeah, out of everyone, he put his head down and he said, you know what? I'm going to take on their left back. I'm going to put a cross in. I'm going to cut a ball across to the box. Who else? Tierney came on and probably put on the best cross. He put in the best cross into the box, but no one was in there. No one's taking chances. I think James was saying it as well in the live, where you look at all these teams, the teams that are doing really well, Liverpool's, it's because they've got midfielders that will bust the gut to get into the box. Moreno, I have to talk about Moreno. Where was he again? My 5-a-side player, but he's not 11-a-side because he looks like he's lost. He looks like he's completely lost in it.
He's another one whose confidence looks a bit shaken up at the moment. Yeah. But talking of that, we've got a big game coming up. They don't get much bigger than Tottenham. We're at home to Tottenham on Wednesday. we're coming off the back of 2 very disappointing performances and results. Do you think we can turn it around against Tottenham?
I said this, you remember when I said to you on your one, I said, I'm not too sure about Man United. I'm not too sure about Spurs, because if Spurs throw everything at us, I'm worried now, not about the attack, I'm worried about defensively, because I saw a lot of holes in our defence today in certain moments. Miles, I love Miles, he done really well, but for that goal, it was like a chain reaction. He went, tried to go for a header. It was already more or less off. He should have just read it and said, you know what, let me sit off, let me stay compact with my back line. He stretched out, then Gabriel went.
And
then it didn't head the ball properly. Then Saliba's one-on-one with someone else. Timber's not looking over his shoulder. So I'm more worried about the defence, because I'm a defender and I'm looking at it and I'm like, these were my foundation. This were the guys that no one could get past. Now I'm seeing little holes and little bits, chinks in the armour. So when it comes to North London derby, probably a draw. I'll be honest with you, probably a draw. I would love it. I would love it if I could be proven wrong and these lot come out and they say, oh guys, we just had you, it's fine. Don't worry about it. We're going to put 4 past Spurs, but it's going to be just as difficult. It's a lot more pressure now. A lot more pressure on the team, a lot more pressure on the manager, because if they don't leave the Emirates with 3 points, that's where you could have the whole fan base saying, hey, Arteta, we love you, but... And that's the sad thing.
Perish the thought. But listen, Kwame, thank you very much for being honest, as always.